Strength is not the absence of struggle, but the discovery of purpose in the midst of pressure. Every trial carries a treasure for those who seek the lesson within it. The reality is that life does not promise immunity from hardship, but it offers the invitation to grow through it. You cannot control what happens to you, but you can control how you interpret it. The difference between a victor and a victim is not the intensity of the storm. They both face wind and rain. But it is the interpretation of the experience and the decision to respond with purpose. You must come to understand that every crisis conceals a hidden advantage. Embedded within every challenge is a divine clue to a higher version of yourself. That disappointment you endured was not meant to destroy you. It was sent to expose you to a dimension of strength you didn't know you had. Pressure is a revealer. Struggle strips away the excess, the pretension, the fluff, and reveals your core. What remains is who you really are. And in that moment, you must decide whether to be formed by truth or deformed by fear. You were never created to be a victim of your environment. The seed of greatness in you was designed to bear fruit in the harshest conditions. Your source is not your situation. What surrounds you does not define what is within you. Your strength does not come from favorable conditions, but from an unshakable awareness of your design. You were built for storms. The eagle does not avoid the wind, it mounts up on it. And likewise, you must learn to ride the winds of adversity rather than retreat from them. Storms only expose what you're anchored to. Too many people live by emotion instead of by principle. And when emotions become the pilot, your life will always be at the mercy of turbulence. Emotions are real, but they were never meant to govern. They are messengers, not masters. Principles are what sustain strength. Principles are like the skeleton in the body. They give you structure when the flesh is weak. A person grounded in truth can walk through fire and not be consumed because their mind is fixed and their heart is settled. When emotions are raging, you return to your convictions. When the world is shaking, you hold to the standard that does not shift. Vision gives pain a purpose. Without vision, every struggle becomes senseless. But when you have a vision, your suffering gains value. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this preparing me for? The weight you are carrying now may be the resistance necessary to build the muscle required for your next assignment. You cannot lift the crown if you have not first borne the cross. Vision turns pain into preparation. It aligns today's agony with tomorrow's authority. When you can see the outcome, you can endure the process. And this must be said clearly: the seed of strength is in the struggle. No resistance, no growth. No tension, no transformation. Muscles only develop when they are pushed beyond comfort. Likewise, character only matures when pressure is applied. It is not your comfort zones that make you powerful. It is your uncomfortable places that stretch your capacity. Stop running from resistance and start seeing it as a signal. If you're under attack, it may be because you're carrying something of value. If life feels heavy, it may be because you've been entrusted with something significant. You must shift your perspective from escape to engagement. Don't just wish your way out of hard seasons. Learn your way through them. Ask the right questions. What is this teaching me? What weakness is being exposed so that strength can take its place? What mindset must be torn down so that a greater one can be built? Crisis is not punishment. It is a classroom. And life will keep giving you the same test until you learn the lesson. But when you embrace the process, when you mind the pressure for purpose, when you stop blaming and start building, then you emerge not just healed, but whole, not just surviving, but reigning. The greatest versions of yourself are not found in peace, but in pressure. The oil does not come from the olive until it is crushed. The diamond is not formed without intense heat and pressure. And the gold is not pure until it has passed through fire. So do not curse the fire. Understand it. The fire is not your enemy. It is your elevator. It is your preparation room. If you respond right, if you see rightly, you will become strong in any situation. You were designed to outlast storms. You were not made to collapse under pressure, but to carry purpose through the winds of adversity. When the storm comes, it does not come to define you. It comes to reveal you. The true test of any creation is in how it performs under pressure. That's why an aircraft is tested in the wind tunnel. That's why a ship is tested in the waves. And that's why your destiny must be tested by difficulty. Your Creator did not give you a calling without the capacity to carry it. The test is not to break you, it's to prove you. Just like the eagle spreads its wings and rises above the storm, you too were given an inbuilt capacity to elevate beyond the chaos around you. The eagle does not flap harder when the winds blow stronger. It simply locks its wings and rides the current higher. That's wisdom. Strength isn't always about fighting harder. It's about positioning correctly. When life's winds are fierce, your instinct might be to struggle, but your strategy must be to ascend. And you ascend not by effort alone, but by alignment. Alignment with your design, your vision, your source. The challenge most people face is not that they are too weak, but that they are disconnected from who they really are. The storm didn't defeat them. Their ignorance of their design did. You were not born to drown in problems. You were born with the breath of dominion in your lungs and the spirit of excellence in your bones. But you must discover that truth. You must reconnect to your origin in order to function according to your design. Function follows purpose. And once you know your purpose, no storm can confuse your direction. You were never meant to live by reaction. You were made to lead by intention. A storm should not dictate your attitude. It should activate your authority. What you tolerate will dominate. So you must refuse to be manipulated by circumstances and choose to operate from your original blueprint. Just like manufacturers design products with endurance built in, your endurance is not something you borrow. It's something you already have. It's encoded in your spirit. It's written into your DNA by the hand of God Himself. But if you don't know that, you'll live like you were meant to break. Endurance is not just about surviving hardship. It's about remaining unmoved in identity while everything around you is shifting. It is the silent power of knowing that what's happening around you does not have the authority to change what's been placed inside you. When others are panicking, you can stand still. When others are quitting, you keep building. Not because it's easy, but because you know the storm is not permanent, but your assignment is. Too often we see the storm as a detour. But what if the storm is a doorway? What if the shaking is clearing the way for something greater? Sometimes the storm doesn't come to stop you. It comes to strip you of what was slowing you down. It comes to remove the unnecessary so the essential can rise. You don't outlast storms by pretending they're not real. You outlast storms by standing in truth while winds try to move you with lies. The greatest power you have is not in avoiding the trial, but in enduring it with clarity and conviction. To endure is to bear the weight and still believe. To endure is to feel the pressure and still push forward. Endurance is not weakness. It's evidence of strength under control. And that kind of strength is not taught in peace. It is cultivated in resistance. Like the roots of a tree that grow deeper when the winds blow stronger, your character becomes more anchored each time you refuse to give up. So the next time life shakes around you, don't question your survival. Remember your source. Don't doubt your strength. Realign with your design. You were not made to fear the storm. You were made to fly in it. Your environment does not define your identity. Where you are is not who you are. You may be in a low place, but that doesn't mean you are a low person. You may be walking through lack, but that doesn't mean you are lacking. Situations are temporary, but identity is eternal. The mistake many people make is allowing temporary circumstances to rewrite permanent truths. But your identity was established before your crisis ever showed up. You were known before you were formed, set apart before you were born, and ordained before your environment even existed. When you confuse your location with your identity, you begin to lower your expectations and shrink your vision. That's how captivity becomes a mindset, not just a condition. You can be free in body and still enslaved in belief. You can leave the storm physically but still carry its voice in your thinking. And the greatest danger is not the hardship around you. It's the identity crisis within you. What you believe about yourself in the valley will determine how long you stay there. You don't escape a wilderness with your feet. You escape it with your mind. Life will place you in some dark places, but darkness is not your name. Rejection is not your name. Failure is not your name. These are conditions, not conclusions. They are chapters, not your title. You must stop letting your surroundings speak louder than your source. Situations can change in a moment, but the truth of who you are is fixed. Just because you're in a famine doesn't mean you're not favored. Just because you're in a pit doesn't mean you've lost your promise. Never judge your future by the season you're in. Judge it by the seed inside you. The world around you may try to label you, but identity is not received from people. It is revealed by purpose. Environments are external, but purpose is internal. And once you know who you are, no environment can manipulate how you act. Identity gives you dominion over your atmosphere. It gives you authority to rise above limitation. That's why people with vision are dangerous. They're not moved by what's visible, because they're living from what's eternal. There will always be moments when your environment contradicts your destiny. That contradiction is the training ground of maturity. Can you still believe when nothing looks like the promise? Can you still build when everything says quit? Can you still speak life when you're surrounded by death? That is the test. And when you pass it, you become unshakable. Your environment might challenge your position, but it cannot cancel your identity unless you surrender it. It's not the storm that steals your strength. It's forgetting who you are in the storm. The prodigal son was still a son in the pigpen. The prison didn't remove Joseph's dream. The cave didn't cancel David's kingship. These were environments, not definitions. If you remember your name, you can endure any place. If you hold on to your identity, the place you're in must eventually submit to the person you've become. Some of the greatest transformations happen in the worst places. A desert doesn't stop a seed from sprouting if it knows its nature. And likewise, even in adversity, you can produce fruit. If you understand your origin, the lion doesn't become a chicken just because it was raised in a coop. Eventually, instinct overrides influence. And the same is true for you. There is a divine imprint on your life that no condition can erase. You must stop allowing your circumstances to interpret your identity and start allowing your identity to transform your circumstances. You may be in a season of silence, but you're still called. You may be surrounded by limitation, but you're still an answer. Don't let what surrounds you weaken what's within you. When your identity is intact, you don't conform, you confront. You don't adapt to the pressure. You rise in the midst of it. Because you understand that who you are is greater than where you are. Principles, not emotions, sustain strength. Emotions fluctuate with conditions, but principles remain constant. If you build your life on emotion, you'll be up today and down tomorrow, swayed by every circumstance, manipulated by every voice, and exhausted by the instability of your own soul. Emotions were never meant to be the foundation of your decisions. They were designed to be indicators, not instructors. They tell you how you feel, but they don't tell you what is real. That's why you must anchor your responses in unchanging truths, not temporary feelings. When life presses on you, emotions scream for attention. Pain wants a reaction. Fear demands retreat. Anger calls for retaliation. But you must be disciplined enough to resist reacting from the flesh and choose instead to respond from conviction. Principles are higher than feelings. They are rooted in wisdom, not mood. And when storms rise, your ability to stand comes not from how you feel, but from what you know. Knowing the truth gives you authority over the lie. And living by principle gives you dominion over the chaos. The strength of a person is not measured by passion alone. It is measured by self-governance. Anyone can act strong when things are easy, but true strength is revealed when you act with clarity in confusion, with love in offense, with discipline in delay. Your ability to stay planted during uncertainty is the evidence that you've built your life on something deeper than excitement. Principles give you roots, and roots are what make trees stand when the winds blow. The fruit may shake, the branches may bend, but the rooted tree does not fall. Far too many people build on sand. They build their relationships, decisions, and even their faith on the highs of emotion. But when the storm comes, and it will, they crumble. Why? Because they had inspiration but no instruction. They had passion but no principle. Passion will start the race, but principle will finish it. Feelings will fuel the beginning, but it's truth that empowers endurance. You don't survive life's furnace by feeling strong. You survive by knowing who you are and why you're standing. It's not emotion that sustained the great men and women of history. It was principle. They stood when others bowed. They moved forward when others ran. Not because they didn't feel fear, but because they refused to be ruled by it. They were grounded in something eternal. When you live by principle, you live by design, not by default. You live with direction, not just reaction. And that's how you gain strength that outlasts seasons. You must decide that your integrity is not for sale, that your purpose is not negotiable, that your values are not up for revision based on how you feel today. This kind of decision doesn't make you rigid. It makes you reliable. It makes you trustworthy. It makes you stable in an unstable world. And when others are swayed by the tides of culture, you remain fixed not because you're stubborn, but because you're anchored in something eternal. Principles don't promise comfort, they promise consistency. And consistency is what gives birth to credibility. It is what separates leaders from followers, builders from wanderers, and finishers from quitters. Emotion will convince you to abandon your assignment when it gets hard. Principle reminds you why you started. Emotion says, I don't feel it. Principle says, I still believe it. Emotion says, give up. Principle says, press on. That's the difference between a momentary fire and an enduring flame. If you want to be strong in every season, you must master the discipline of silence in the face of chaos. You must learn to pause before you respond. You must discern the voice of principle from the noise of pressure. And you must practice choosing truth over convenience, even when it costs you. Because that's how strength is formed. Not in the height of emotion, but in the depth of principle. It's what makes you a pillar, not a leaf. A foundation, not a shadow. A person who shapes culture, not someone swallowed by it. Vision gives pain a purpose. Pain by itself is torment, but pain attached to vision becomes preparation. When you can see beyond what you're going through, you gain the strength to grow through it. Your ability to endure is not determined by how much you suffer, but by how clearly you see. A person with vision can walk through the fire and not burn because they know the fire is not the end, it's the forge. They understand that hardship is not random, it's reproductive. It's not just what you go through that matters, it's what you birth because of it. When you don't have vision, you suffer twice. First, you endure the pain. Then you endure the confusion of not knowing why. But when your eyes are opened, the suffering doesn't break you, it builds you. Vision turns pressure into strategy. It turns obstacles into opportunities. It turns delays into divine timing. Without vision, pain feels like punishment. But with vision, you understand it's the raw material of purpose being shaped by process. It's the push before the promise. There's a difference between pain that breaks you and pain that births you. Vision makes the difference. A woman in labor doesn't give up because of the pain. She pushes because of the child. It's not the pain that fuels her endurance. It's the image of what the pain is producing. The same is true in your life. If you can see what's coming on the other side of this pressure, your posture will change. You'll stop complaining and start cooperating. You'll stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start declaring, this is happening for me. Vision gives you the ability to speak harvest while still holding seed. It gives you the boldness to call yourself whole while you're still healing. It gives you the power to thank God for the mountain while you're still climbing it. Why? Because you've seen the end from the beginning. You know that all things work together. You know that what tried to destroy you will develop you. And what was meant for evil will be converted into good, not by chance but by clarity. Pain without vision produces bitterness. But pain with vision produces wisdom. One makes you a victim. The other makes you a vessel. Your tears become instruction. Your scars become strategy. Your nights become the foundation of someone else's daylight. But none of this happens unless you see. You must see beyond the surface, beyond the now, beyond the noise. You must train your inner eyes to recognize divine design in human difficulty. The most dangerous person in the storm is the one who can see past the storm, because that person refuses to be paralyzed by the present. They've already traveled into the future with their vision and returned with the confidence that this moment is temporary. That kind of clarity gives you strength. That kind of focus gives you stability. When others quit, you stay. When others cry, you create, because you're not reacting, you're building from revelation. When vision lives in your spirit, it puts your pain in context. You stop seeing setbacks as sabotage and start seeing them as setup. You realize that discomfort is the evidence of growth, and confusion is the soil of clarity. You no longer despise the process. You respect it. Because the process is what prepares you to carry what you've seen. Vision without process produces arrogance. But vision forged in pain produces authority. And that authority is not just for your benefit. It's for those you're called to lift. Your pain, once processed through vision, becomes bread for others. Your testimony becomes their blueprint. Your endurance becomes their encouragement. That's why quitting is not an option. Someone else's future is attached to your ability to see past your present. When you carry vision, You understand that your life is bigger than your feelings. Your decisions affect generations. And that kind of awareness makes you dangerous to darkness. Pain is inevitable. But purpose is a choice. If you choose vision, you transform the battlefield into a birthplace. You take the hits and turn them into healing. You take the loss and turn it into legacy. You take the cross and transform it into a crown. Not because it was easy, but because you could see what it was creating. The seed of strength is in the struggle. Strength is not handed to you. It is drawn out of you. Just like muscles only grow when placed under pressure, your inner strength multiplies when tested. Without resistance, there is no growth. Without pressure, there is no power. Resistance is not your enemy. It is your trainer. It is the environment where potential is awakened and endurance is refined. The struggle does not come to destroy you. It comes to introduce you to the version of yourself that comfort would never reveal. Everything of value is born through resistance. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Gold is purified through fire. Oil is pressed from olives. Even a seed must break in the dark before it ever touches the light. And so it is with you. Every trial, every hardship, every test is proof that something powerful is being developed within you. The enemy does not attack what is empty. He attacks what is pregnant. Your struggle is evidence that something inside you is growing, shifting, and preparing to emerge. But you must allow the process to complete its work. When you misunderstand struggle, you misinterpret the season. You begin to think you are cursed when in reality you are being cultivated. You start to pray for escape when what you need is endurance. The discomfort you feel is not punishment, it is preparation. Strength is not built in convenience. It is built when everything in you wants to quit, but your spirit says, keep going. That moment of resistance is the birthplace of resilience, and resilience is the currency of greatness. Those who run from struggle forfeit strength, but those who embrace it become unshakable. The struggle teaches you discipline. It refines your focus. It silences distractions. It reveals what matters most. It is in the struggle that your values are tested, your vision is clarified, and your faith is proven. Talk is easy when everything is working. But when the lights go out, when the crowd disappears, and when the weight feels unbearable, that's where you discover what you really believe. That's when strength is not just a concept, but a reality. And that strength is not loud. It doesn't always shout. Sometimes it shows up as quiet obedience. Sometimes it's the decision to try again. Sometimes it's the ability to stand still and trust. Real strength is not about image, it's about endurance. It's the power to bend without breaking, to cry and still commit, to feel weak and still walk in purpose. The struggle gives you that kind of strength, the kind that doesn't impress people but impacts generations. Never resent the season that is making you strong. Don't despise the pressure that is making you powerful. Struggle is not a sign that you've failed. It's a sign that you're being formed. There is something sacred about resistance. It reminds you that greatness is not a gift. It's a grind. It's not inherited. It's developed. And every time you choose to persevere instead of retreat, you're planting seeds that will one day become testimonies. What looks like a battle now will soon become a banner. What feels like a burden now will become your breakthrough. Strength built through struggle carries weight. It has substance. It has authority. People can feel it. They can sense that you've been through fire and came out faithful. That kind of strength doesn't just inspire. It transforms. Because it was forged in authenticity. It wasn't borrowed. It wasn't imitated. It was earned in the furnace of adversity. And that kind of strength cannot be taken. It can only be stewarded. So if you're in a struggle right now, don't shrink. Don't panic. Lean in. Engage it. Learn from it. Let it stretch you, shape you, and show you what's already inside you. You don't need to be rescued. You need to be revealed. And the struggle is the womb where your true strength is conceived. So what then is strength? It is not found in the absence of adversity, but in the alignment with purpose under pressure. True strength is not a moment. It is a mindset. It is not simply surviving storms, but mastering the wisdom hidden within them. You were never created to be fragile. You were never designed to be driven by emotions, environments, or opinions. You were born of eternal substance, shaped by divine intent, and infused with the power to overcome every form of resistance. If you can recognize the treasure in the trial, the oil in the crushing, the promotion in the persecution, then the things that used to break you will begin to build you. You'll stop asking for the struggle to end, and start extracting the strategy it came to deliver. Because nothing enters your life without permission or purpose, and if it was allowed, it will be used. Not just to shape your future, but to reveal the strength that has always lived within your spirit. You are not what you feel. You are not where you are. You are what heaven declared from the beginning. So fix your eyes, not on the wind, not on the waves, not on the war around you, but on the vision that cannot be shaken. Anchor your soul to principles that outlast storms. Govern your life by truth, not trends, because the person who lives by vision will endure seasons others are destroyed by. Do not pray for an easier path. Pray for a stronger posture. Do not beg for the pain to pass. Ask for the eyes to see its purpose. For when your mind is renewed, your strength is released. When your identity is rooted, your authority is activated. And when your faith is aligned with principle, you become unmovable, unbreakable, unshakable. You were not created to crumble. You were created to conquer. Stand in that truth. Walk in that confidence. And from this day forward, become strong in any situation. Not because of the situation, but in spite of it.